Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television. In our top stories, a woman is on the run in Yaoundé, the nation's political capital, after she allegedly killed her boyfriend. She demanded some money from the boyfriend, who was just from picking in Jangi, as always, a contribution from a social group. She demanded some, but the boyfriend refused giving her. They demanded some, reason why she stabs the boyfriend to death. Security elements have launched investigation to track her down. We'll also talk about two suspected individuals in the west region of the country who have been apprehended by elements of the National Gendarmerie for trafficking cannabis. They were apprehended, that's in Bamenang. They were in possession of 2 bags of cannabis, each costing the sum of 70,000 francs CFA. Those were top stories. Good evening once again. Thanks for joining us in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television. We begin with this information. In the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, a suspect, a woman called Rose Eyenge, is on the run after stabbing her boyfriend to death. That's Alain Wong. That's in the Carrière in Kulu. Residents in the Away Escalier neighborhood in Yaoundé. The incident occurred, that was last night, after the suspect reportedly demanded money from Alain. Sources have revealed that the deceased had just received money. That's from a Jangi contribution as in a social gathering, and he was held by the girl to give her some of the money. His refusal saw the girlfriend stabbing him to death. Security elements have opened investigation to track down the said lady who is on the run. We take you to the west region of the country, notably in Bamenang, where 2 suspected cannabis traffickers have been apprehended by gendarme elements. They were smuggling Marie Joanna, that's in Bamali, in the west region of the country. They were in possession of 2 bags summing to the sum of 140,000 francs CFA. That is, each of the bags cost 70,000 francs CFA, as Manjikan Gabriel tells us in the following report.
280,000 francs CFA was the total amount that could have gone into the pockets of a commercial bike rider in Buda if he had successfully sold 4 bags of marijuana destined to unknown consumers in Bamali, northwest region of Cameroon.
I worked 5 years in Buda. I'm a bike man here in Buda. I was caught with drugs trafficking. And 1 bag was collected in Bamali by some armed forces, which I don't know them.
Unfortunately, he was caught by the Gendarmerie Intervention Unit at Bamiyan, situated in the Bambutus, that is sharing boundaries with Ngok Etunja in the northwest region of Cameroon.
At about 3 o'clock, we had to apprehend these 2 individuals with a very good quantity of Indian hemp. We need to precise that they had succeeded in giving some of these products to some terrorist groups which are in the...
Commander Alogbede Peter, who supervised the operation, says drug trafficking is linked to terrorism.
These 2 activities are strictly linked. That is, activities of those who are producing and supplying drugs and Indian hemp. They are strictly linked with the activities of the terrorists which are in the other parts of the area and who come into these zones from time to time to disturb us. So we are in the logic of tracking down those terrorists, not only them, but equally all those who are carrying out the other activities like drug trafficking.
While calling on the collaboration of the local population, Commander Alogbede Peter says such operations will be multiplied to track those whom, according to him, feed unknown gunmen with marijuana.
Custom officials in the far north region of the country have presented some mobile telephones confiscated from some individuals who are suspected to have smuggled them from neighboring country Nigeria. According to Commander Mofo Jones of Haukome 3, the 11 bags containing the phones were seized during an operation in a locality called Selu Semba. Commander Mofo Jones spoke to Equinoxe television after that operation and presentation of the mobile phones to the public. Take a listen to him in this excerpt.
These are 2 stocks of mobile phones which were imported illegally into the country. We have the first stock of 9 bags and the second stock of 2 bags. Because of professional reasons and security reasons, we cannot say here or show how these telephones got into the country. But just to tell you that we have an intelligence service that works 24 on 24. When the proprietor comes, he will now clear the goods with penalties.
And in the following reports, we show you how homage was paid to the 5 police constables who were killed in Bali, Nyonga, in the northwest region of the country, allegedly by separatist fighters. That was earlier this month, or rather, that was last month. And the reports coming up for me, Armstrong Sander, tells us that they are being remembered for their role they played in preserving the national integrity of the country, also ensuring that the populations are saved from insecurity masterminded by armed individuals. Details in this report.
The police constables aged between 27 and 31 are among the thousands of lives wasted in what others qualify as a senseless war in the Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Amadou Mamdi Jean Chazelle, Bikoy Chalie Vang, Tamwa Valérie Parfait, Mai Geoffrey Koum and Obam Villefranc were hit and killed in an ambush by an improvised explosive device at T-Junction on the 18th of July 2021 in Bali. A painful exit which left family members inconsolable. I lost my first son on which my family depended for everything. I don't know who to turn to. The hope of my family has gone.
Geoffrey was full of life and ambitions. He was very serviceable in the family, and I think the only consolation is that he died in the service of the nation.
Others say the government should, as an obligation, substitute them with other family members. Such a loss is normally substituted immediately. Tell the president to do the substitution. A ceremony in their honor was organized at the National Advanced Police College in Yaoundé. The ceremony was chaired by Martin Mbagangile, the Delegate General for National Security in Cameroon.
Away from that, decentralization stakeholders in the Littoral region of Cameroon are discussing the enhancements of the contribution of arts and culture to the decentralization process and local development. They were meeting today in Douala within the framework of the African Day of Decentralization. According to experts, arts and the people's cultural heritage have a huge potential to enhance the implementation of decentralization and development of local communities. Greater details in this excerpt of Anthony Noke, Secretary General of the Littoral Regional Council. Take a listen. He was interviewed by Babila Jonathan.
We are moving ahead with the process of decentralization, and it is important for this day, as it is being celebrated, for people to gather enough awareness of what decentralization is, and also in the theme of the day, how to use our culture, our cultural heritage, our art to promote sustainable cities and sustainable territories. Councils, regions, or local authorities have these competencies to exercise, and it is their duty to help contribute to the promotion of art and culture in their territories. And as they do, the second way is that art and culture can be sold. Arts and culture can contribute to tourism. Arts and culture can contribute to sell a territory. We have a lot of cultural expressions in the littoral region where we are. We organize the Ngondo, we organize the Coupe, we organize the Mpo in Sanaga Maritime. They can come in the Yabasi area. All this, as you see in other areas, can be moments of great contribution to the expression of the cultural heritage of our various regions, our various councils, and bring in tourists and bring in money that we need to continue to develop our regions.
A special committee of the CEMAC will be meeting in the days ahead to evaluate and assess the economic problems faced by CEMAC member countries. The aim of the come together will be to find probable solutions to these problems. Charles Sekome talks about some of the problems faced by CEMAC member countries in the following report.
In order to boost the revival of the economic growth of countries which make up the CEMAC zone and to set up a sustainable, inclusive and productive economy, a special committee from the CEMAC headquarters is set to meet in the days ahead. It will be an opportunity for this committee to monitor and assess the actions to be taken so as to improve the economies of CEMAC member countries. Professor Michel Sinjena Wembu, the permanent secretary of this committee, tells us more.
It is a statutory meeting. We have to meet at the request of our head of state. After 3 months, we have to meet. Why? We have to meet first to review the implementation of the decision taken by the head of state for the implementation of the program of economic and financial reforms in our region.
He further says this economic revival, which will have to deal with the various challenges on the way in the sub-Central African regions, in particular the COVID-19 pandemic, which will have a major impact in the implementation of the plans for economic reforms in the CEMAC zone.
We have to review the impact, the consequences of the pandemic COVID-19 on our economies. 3, we have to propose new measures to fight against this pandemic, but new measures to protect our economy, new measures to continue the development of the economies of the region, new measure also to make sure that our economy will become resilient.
The statesman also talks of measures aimed at supporting the generators of employment so they can invest in the social services and of course amortize the burden of debt contracted with the Bretton Woods institution. However, the sub-regional economies are still facing developmental challenges due to the COVID-19 pandemic.
We are going also to review the process of the implementation of the integrative projects. This is why we are meeting here today also to review project by project. 1, the progress made. 2, the difficulties. But 3, the way forward.
It will therefore no longer be a simple stimulus, but a way to generate a more competitive and creative economy based on the champions of the private sector, which will have to be more resilient in the face of future challenges.
Equinoxe journalist Kate Jaha and also another lady, Clarence Younger, are winners of the 2021 EShat Awards for the most courageous female journalist in Cameroon. The winners received their awards this on Friday, August the 6th, at a Maison du Livre here in the nation's economic capital, Douala. Details with Mala Glory.
Clarence Yongo and Kate Jaha have been crowned winners of the 2021 EShat Award, the Goddess of Wisdom, a distinguished prize for the most courageous female journalist in Cameroon. Their work on violence against women in the Cameroonian context published on several media in the previous years have made them to be shortlisted among several journalists. The winners received their prize this Friday at Maison du Livre in the city of Douala.
Et quand les gens estiment que je ne dois pas parler, c'est un sujet qu'il ne faut pas toucher, il faut se taire, c'est en ce moment que ça m'intéresse. Et je vais peut-être essayer de vous rappeler qu'au tout début de la crise anglophone, même les journalistes...
It is when a particular topic is very sensible and people tend to avoid it that I get interested. Even during the Anglophone crisis, a lot of female journalists, including male journalists, kept away from this particular topic. No one was ready to talk about it for fear of what might happen. I, as a woman, through Equinoxe Radio, with support of a number of people, I talked about it. There were a lot of women and girls who were affected by this crisis. One needed guts in order to confront such topics. For example, the case of Germaine, who was raped and impregnated in the cause, a daughter of an HIV patient.
Qui ne sait même pas ce que c'est que de compter son cycle. Donc ça fait partie des éléments qui, moi, m'ont fait comprendre que si on ne se décide pas, nous, femmes journalistes,
Women still face series of violence in our country, but yet very few are ready to denounce this for fear of being attacked, as Clarence Yongo added.
Nous traitons et jusqu'ici, on a plutôt affaire à des...
We have victims who resist from the trauma of rape. For example, a lady who was raped in a hotel. A complaint was filed against her for defamation. This was because she had to denounce this ugly act. You can imagine what it represents. These are the realities in our country.
Victime de viol et qu'elle avait osé déposer une plainte. Vous pouvez vous imaginer que ce que ça représente, ce sont les réalités que nous vivons au quotidien.
Victims of violence in Cameroon are often psychologically traumatized as they are not given the chance to express themselves. This is why the EShat Award was initiated to encourage female journalists to work for female empowerment and to be the voice of the voiceless.
Talking points in a jiffy. Good evening once again. You're welcome to join us in Talking Points. We're having as guest today civil society activist. He is Nziwum Emmanuel. Good evening and welcome. And also a pleasure having you here. Now, let's begin by talking about the reports that was published by the World Bank Group, noting that the economy of the country has been adversely affected by the Anglophone crisis. You know, noting that we have a lot of infrastructures that have been destroyed in the course of the armed conflicts, and the World Bank Group is saying by 2025 the crisis is not resolved. The gross domestic product of Cameroon in general will fall by 9%, and that of the northwest southwest regions by 2025, if the crisis persists, will drop by 60%. How do you analyze these reports published by the World Bank Group?
Well, they are not far from the truth, but I think they are still minor. One is like Ghana, and the work southwest. I think it's almost about. You know that I'm not an economist, but every human being by nature is an economist. The day-to-day life, the day-to-day activities of every human being, you understand that when you look at the household expenditure,
right? When
you look at community expenditure and the expenditure of businessmen, the tax situation of the country, in a context where the economic atmosphere of the country is normal, it is sharply different from the situation where the economic situation of the country is not under normal situations like in Cameroon today. You discover that imports, exports, even interurban business operations have dropped very drastically. you will discover that prices of goods are rising every day, but the goods are becoming very fewer in the market. That's an inflationary situation. And you also discover that shortage of basic commodities, that gives what we call that gives little drops of interest. They are almost disconnected in the war-torn zones because of fear of life. And then you discover that in the absence of all this, the GDP, it's but normal that it will go down. It's even automatic. It's not something that we need scientists to come and tell us. We just need to understand that the problems that we have at hand, we need to fix them so that we can stabilize our GDP.
And the issue here is that the government is kind of telling Cameroonians that it is more engaged in this development and reconstruction approach of the two English-speaking regions, because we have the labor force. Majority of the people, the youth, they have moved out. Those who were engaged in agricultural activities, they are no more. They have been displaced to places where they are unproductive. Can we say it's a big problem?
Well, innocent as
the government, are they actually serious to see the economies of these two English-speaking regions revamped?
Well, what do you call a government? To me, it's a group of...
Or let's say our state authorities.
Yes,
because they are the ones. When you talk about governments, we know they are the heads. We
even you and I, we make up part of the government. Just that we don't have the legal powers in our hands to execute certain tasks. But what I wanted to say is that even those you call state officials, I look at them to be old-time school friends, old-time classmates that are benefiting from the legal instruments of this country, but they are not doing anything. So it will be very much forced if you, as a journalist, you are still believing that there are state officials in this country who can offer what Cameroonians need. Let me tell you, even the World Bank that is talking today, should Cameroon turn to them to borrow money, they will give. You saw what happened with IMF. They gave money and the state officials comfortably embezzled it. Nothing has happened to them. This is what I say. All these organizations making these reports, they are comforting evil and then consoling failure, because Cameroon, without doubt, with those who are on the steering, are a failure. Now, to tell me that the state officials or the government still believe that something can be done other than what Cameroons have been clamoring for, which is an end to the war that the president of the Republic of Cameroon declared on Northwest and Southwest, on those he called terrorists or secessionists, which we are still expecting till date, that he should take that same courage that he took at the airport to declare war against those he called terrorists or secessionists, and then call for a ceasefire so that normalcy can come back. They will sit and talk and solve this problem, of which he has failed to do. Because it will be very dishonest to tell you that those who are qualified as terrorists in this country are found in Norwest. No. The real terrorists in this country are found in Yaoundé, and we know that. They are the ministers who embezzle money made for Cameroonians to be treated at the hospital. They are the ministers who steal, who siphon state funds that are meant to tar roads, that everyday Cameroonians are perishing there. And secessionists are found in the government circles. Those who propagate hate speech, those right from tripartite who call Anglophones Biafrans, those who call Anglophone dogs, they are in Yaoundé. So I am thinking that in order to stabilize the GDP of Cameroon, the head of state should once more summon that courage that he took to declare war against these people, and then come back and declare a ceasefire, because we have already lost enormously. Our brothers who are in the diaspora, who used to do business in Cameroon, particularly in Northwest and Southwest. They cannot do it any longer because of the risk that is involved in it. And then it's only but automatic that the GDP of the country has to fall.
And before we go, what appraisal do you give to efforts of local mayors? You talk about local authorities, mostly mayors, who are encouraging the local population, maybe with seedings and other agricultural tools, in order to enable them bounce back into agriculture.
No,
that effort, would that help to at least reduce the risk of the GDP falling by 2025?
That's mere politicking. They are giving seats. And what we need is peace, so that you can go to your farm without getting the sounds of the gun. If you give me seats and I'm not able to go and bend down and work for 5 hours in my farm without getting a gunshot, you have given me nothing. That's a folklore. There's nothing there.
Okay.
They're the same people. They have nothing to offer to Cameroon.
That's what you think.
No,
right?
That's not what I think.
That's the reality, you say.
That's the reality. That's what the Cameroonian population know about these people.
Thank you so very much, Nziwo Emmanuel, for coming.
Thank you very much. And I think the management of your television should look into the time of the talking point, because we cannot drive far to come here and talk for 10 minutes.
10 minutes is still sufficient to say a lot, and we have actually, I think we've actually touched on that, but we're hoping to talk more on other subject matters in other editions of the newscast, the talking points.
It's a pleasure.
Once again, thank you very much, viewers, for being part of this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast. Join us tomorrow, same time. Have a nice evening.